Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and tonight I have Ryan and Matthew with me. How are you, gents?
Good, thanks,
Doing
Kane.
very well.
How are you?
Oh, everything's going pretty well here. Can't complain too much. The sun was out in Melbourne today, which is half the battle. It's Father's Day. Had a good Father's Day. How was yours, McTy?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Yep, got a couple of nice little gifts from the school gift registry thing, whatever it was. It's always nice, and nice little 4-pack of beer, which is good.
Your kids gave you beer?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. Like, every time I put a request in for a present, I never get what I ask for. It's funny.
What did you ask for?
Like, oh, I'm such a simple man. I said like a twirl, and
I was going to say you'd be up for a 12.
Yeah, so easy. And a pair of, I saw some
And a
Explorer
Diet
socks
Coke.
in Woolies. I'm doing a challenge at the moment, so I'm off the Coke. But
Diet Coke.
yeah, pair
Diet
of
Coke
socks.
versus Coca-Cola. Are you caramel twirl now, or are you original twirl?
Either is fine. Yeah, both are pretty delicious. There's also strawberry and peppermint, so any of the 12 families really hits the spot.
You're not twirlist. You accept any twirl.
No, I'll accept any twirl at all.
How are you, Ryan? Where in the world are you?
Good. I am in Crete, in Greece at the moment. Living the last of, shall we say, the European life. Got a week off. Got a week off here, and then in 18 days, we'll be spending 24 hours on planes, coming home, and that is the end of jet setting, of European getaways, and settling down and doing much more your kind of things, shall we say.
How long will that
to
be?
come?
How long will that be by the time you get home? How long will that be?
It would have been just short, a couple of months short of 4 years. So 4 year stint, which I think is a pretty good innings given survived COVID and all those good things. It probably would have been shorter if COVID hadn't happened, because obviously we would have been able to travel a lot more and so forth. But the little blessing in disguise is that spent the last sort of 12 months out of the UK and living in Portugal and Spain, which has been a very different and amazing experience and perspective. So yeah, pretty good run.
And when does your dog? What's the time difference on when your dog arrives back?
Yes, my fur child. It's flying one of those back to Australia it's probably genuinely easier to smuggle drugs into Australia. I'm not gonna lie. Not that I've tried for any federal people listening, but I think so Blair she'll fly 2 days before we do, which is solid improvement on November that it was originally, bearing in mind that this process started at the beginning of January and has cost the equivalent of a first class plane ticket back home. So yeah, good fun.
But when does she get out? She quarantines when she gets here. So when does she get out of quarantine?
She quarantines, all going well. She should get out of quarantine on my birthday, 21st of October.
Excellent. That'd be a great birthday surprise.
It'll be a very good birthday
for her
present.
too.
For her too, yeah. I don't think she's going to enjoy quarantine. She's ridiculously spoiled. But she will get all the joys of Australia, which is much more space, a backyard, and parks and everything. So I'm sure it'll make up from apartment European city living.
Maybe it might, yeah, like you say, it might be to get some of the princess out of her. I'm not sure if it'll be on the plane by the time you come home, but check out Strays. I've seen the trailer for Strays about a bunch of dogs which run a market. That's probably what she'll be like when she comes out of dog quarantine, hanging out with all sorts of dogs over that period of time.
I'll check that out with all those long flights. There's a list of things I'm collecting to spend watching and listening to.
Well, what we're going to
Do
talk
they
about?
put dogs to sleep? Sorry, quick question. Do they put animals to sleep on long flights like that, Ryan? I've never experienced what they do here. Or
No,
they don't tell you.
they sort I guess they don't really tell you that. I think they used to, but that sort of caution against it. Depending on the type of dog, but yeah, they do sort of caution against it. So, I mean, she's done a plane flight between London and Barcelona, which obviously much shorter, but I think yeah, but sort of adamant, go home after that, and then I think we will be yeah, hanging up the international expat boots, shall we say.
You just have to be careful, Matthew, when you refer to putting a dog to sleep. That's, I think, the term for having them put down, but maybe that's just me. And a shout out to Matthew's dog. Haven't seen it for a while. Haven't seen any pictures. Assume it's still around. Who knows? Gents. Anyway, gents, we talk about kids' parties tonight, which I think we haven't discussed previously on Daddy S Asked. Having been to a couple recently, I shake my head at what kids' parties have become these days. And Maddie, with 3 kids, you'd probably be averaging a kids' party per weekend, wouldn't you?
Well, we used to be, but not so much anymore. I was thinking before we came on, like, when was the actual last party, like kids' party that I went to? I went to a 2-year-old's party yesterday, but in terms of like a 4, 5, or 6-year-old, I haven't been to one for such a long time. And we're at the lucky stage now where we get to drop and run, which is a godsend. But had my fair share in the day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, drop and run parties, because that happens. My little fella's 7, so he's going to 7-year-old parties now. We're having a few drop and run parties now, which is good. The party which I attended maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago was, I believe, I was told it was a drop and run party after I didn't drop and run. But if I had have dropped and run, then I wouldn't be able to tell some of the amazing stories of the things that I saw at that party tonight. So it is a bit of a blessing in disguise. This is the child's party who it was this year. Last year, I remember telling my wife, I was texting her while it was like it's a live stream when I go to a party. I basically reporting all the ridiculous things which I'm seeing at these parties. Like last year, I think the text message started with, one of the kids is riding the other kid around the floor like he's a circus animal. Oh, look, they've swapped. So they did say we're riding each other around like circus animals last year, a couple of kids. But it's fair to say, Maddie, that kids' parties have changed a lot since we were kids, haven't they?
Absolutely. I mean, back in the day, I remember there was fairy bread, there was some party games, and you just entertained yourselves, basically.
Or you were at a Macca's party.
Yes.
Or you're a Macca's
That
party.
Or the one that I did like was the old 10-pin bowling with the hot dogs. That was fun.
They still exist. Well, Eloise went to one a couple of weeks ago, which was a drop and run. I should actually stayed and had a bowl and a hot dog, but yeah, and this was really one of those old school bowling alleys.
IMF.
Exactly like that. Yeah, $10 for a game and a Coke and a hot dog. But thinking back to parties of our day, I mean, I was watching this Bluey episode, and Kane, you've probably seen this one where they do the pass the parcel. And when we were kids, there was no present every time you unwrapped a layer. It was the anticipation of trying to get to that last layer to get the present. But these days, kids are rewarded for just unwrapping something, and if they don't get something, well, in that episode of Bluey, every kid was cracking it, and they end up. I think the parents end up giving the kids $5 notes to compensate for their. They're crying. But,
you're right though. So it was party games. It'd be like some, maybe some cocktail frankfurts with sauce. Like you'd have, things like that at home. Pin the tail on the donkey, all those sort of things. Now everything's like the foods. Everyone's catering everything. Everyone's going out to places. I think I've been at like a handful of kids' parties at home, and even the ones at home, like they have like one of the parties. I didn't take my little fella to, but my wife took him along. They had a lady showing different wildlife, and there was a baby crocodile there, and the baby crocodile was put into the kids' pool, and they swam around with a baby crocodile. Like I'm like,
what?
Yeah, that was my reaction.
Was it taped in terms of its mouth or something?
Yeah, it was taped up. Like, so it couldn't bite anyone, but like, most
it would want to though.
The most things we had when we were kids, which were floating in water at a kids' party, was when you used to apple bob and try to bite an apple out of the water. There's no crocodiles swimming around.
Or if you did see a
Oh.
crocodile, you were out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's just it's the Wild West now. A party a couple of weeks ago, even the food and stuff which is getting served now, we'd have like we probably had water. We might have had maybe had a fizzy drink, cocktail frankfurts and stuff like that. I went to a party a couple of weeks ago, and it was for 7-year-olds. There was Diet Pepsi there. It's like
Wow.
I'm not sure.
I've never seen that at a party.
Yeah,
Like soft drinks. Water, juice at a pinch, but soft drinks I've never seen.
not even soft drinks, like Diet Pepsi.
Back in our day there was, but
I don't ever remember there being like cola because of the caffeine content. I remember most of the other soft drinks being there, but Diet Coke, I was like, a Diet Pepsi or Pepsi
Yeah.
Max is just like, oh yeah, cool, no sugar. But like, my little fellow was up the other end. He was like, the kids who had that, like, it did said it was like, I don't know, it was like The Hangover or something, where these kids who had the Pepsi were like, yeah, like shaking it around and stuff, like walking it around like it was a trophy. It's just madness.
and they always try to outdo parties like these days as well. Like if one kid does something, then the next kid at the next party says, okay, I've got to beat that somehow. And it sort of turns into a little bit of competition, which is I don't think it's not really healthy at that age.
No. No, even what's a crazy activity you've had at one of the ones you've been to, Maddie?
Crazy activity.
I got one for you.
Again, no. I mean, you've just said crocodile, so how is anything more crazy than that? But the chocolate game, we call that something crazy, really.
I've got one. Glow in the dark soccer. So 20 kids running around an indoor soccer pitch in the dark with like a bit of glow bib on. Because that's not a concussion waiting to happen.
Half me says sounds awesome, and the other half's like,
yeah, that was my initial reaction as well. I was like, that sounds fantastic, and then I was like, until someone breaks an arm.
Yeah. I reckon if there was like a handful of kids or 10 kids, maybe but most of the parties now, because until you get to a certain age, most parties you have to invite the entire class. So it's not like the olden days where you pick your 5 or 6 friends and you go, okay, you got 7 friends you can invite, they can come along. Now it's almost an obligation that you have to invite the entire class. There's no one can be left out.
You go to
What
a park
happens
or
if you're like a
something,
big tight ass? Like I'm sitting there thinking, this just sounds bloody expensive. It's like weddings all over again. Like you go to a wedding season and then everyone tries to outdo that. And now weddings are more for status and ego than they are even about the couple. Like parties now seem to be like, ooh, it's like parents trying to showcase how good of a parent they are because of how good the party is or how extreme the party is. Or
That's exactly what it is, Ryan. It's changed. It's just another way that people can compare and compete, unfortunately. And no one's ever going to top a crocodile in a pool.
what's the I was gonna say, like, that sounds, what's the Rolex of parties that you've been to? Like
I've
creme
seen.
de la creme parent.
Well, see, this is the thing, right? Because I've got a son. So far, every party he's been to has been mixed gender. So there's been all the boys and all the girls, and I guess these days I have to say all the in betweens have been, even though they're 7. Who knows? My wife told me off for saying penis too many times on the last episode. So here's penis for you, love. Like he's been to parties where there's been like everyone there, but there's been a few of the parties where the girls have just invited the girls. And a couple of those have been pretty specky where like we've seen them on social media where it's just the 10 girls that have gone to a day of pampering. Like these are 7-year-olds, which is, I think, is crazy.
7.
Yeah. But they've gone for a massage and bathe their feet and stuff like that. Like it looked specky. Like I wouldn't do that as a 7-year-old. Like what a load of wank. But as far as the gold standard, that's maybe the gold standard.
Wow.
Yeah, our girls have been to a couple of those. Yeah, that's probably the most extreme, or sort of speaking wanky, I'd call it. But in terms of, I don't know, have you been to many parties where there's been alcohol served, Kane?
For the parents or the kids?
I want to say for the parents, but I don't know down there.
No, there's been some. Yeah, some. You go to some and you get a glass of champagne and food. There's one a few weeks ago where it was like I didn't stick around for that one. I took off because I didn't want to talk to some people. I just wanted to go do my own thing for a bit. That was a drop-off party, and that was pretty much buffet food. I was going, I hadn't known that, I would have stuck around. But yeah, you get the old odd glass of champagne. But the party the other week, which was serving the Pepsi, I think I got a bit of leftover pizza off the kids' table at the end. There's nothing.
Nice.
Hence why it was meant to be a drop off that I didn't know about.
Actually, best party I've been to, boys, was Eloise, and this was a whole class party as well. But one of the dads of a child owns a couple of Domino's franchises. So he took the kids there on a Sunday morning and they did pizza making, and he invited the parents as well to make their own pizza. I'm like, right.
Fantastic.
Best party ever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Just load it up. It's like 10 in the morning, but you just load up your own pizza. It was great.
That was actually a complete sidebar here, but that was my very first job when I was 13. Was working at Domino's Pizza, and we used to like finish the shift and get to sort of make your own, and you would. Sometimes you'd have to put it through, depending on if you had a good manager. Most of them were pretty bad, but there was like occasionally a good one. Although I don't think I was supposed to be working under 14, but anyway, that's probably another story. But you'd load up the toppings that much, you put it through the pizza oven, and you'd have to swing it back through again just so that it probably cooked. And when you did that, you knew that you were on a winner. You took that home, and you were just like, "This is amazing."
Brilliant. That's yeah.
So, what do you guys do for your little ones then, party wise? Like when you get there, is it like or like even obviously it's not just you guys doing it. You have very lovely wives that help, but like, is it a conversation of like, oh no, what do we have to do? Last week we were at this one and that kind of thing, or is it do you just go this year? He's 5 or she's 5. It's this. That's what we're doing.
We have to pause there and come back in.
We might have to. We've got less than a minute, but then it'll take us 9 minutes to get back in. So you reckon you can wrap it up in 40 seconds?
Yeah,
go Ty.
Yeah, so these days we ask the question, do you want a birthday party or do you want a better gift? And depending on what they ask for, then is what they get. But again, it's maybe 4 or 5 kids that come, and it's no big extravagant parties anymore. It's sort of condensed.
Yeah, we're much the same. It's pretty much you get a handful. It'll be a handful of kids. What do you want to do? And there'll be no diet Pepsi.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.